So the most important thing that I want to tell you of this tier 0 format is do not be intimidated. Tier, do not fear. Don't fear Tillements. Do not fear the new Izuku support that they just got as well. I've seen people say that they've quit Hero because also the Bestials. But there are ways to play around this. There are ways to beat Bestial, any kind of Bestial engine. There are ways to beat the Izuku that package as well as the tier limit. So let's go ahead and get into it of my analysis and what I've come up with this format because Hero is still very, very, very strong.
Hero D シリーズ D シリーズ Destiny Destroy です
D time!
It's D time!
It's Michael Bowden back here again. And I am your host, Destiny Hero Mike. And welcome back to D Time! We're here, baby. It's always D time. In more ways than one. And yes, if you're new here watching this and you've been thinking about subscribing, please subscribe. We want to get all the formal trees out of the way. So if you're thinking about subscribing, it's a hero-oriented channel. Go ahead and smash that subscribe button. As well as if you want to join the D-Time hero-oriented Discord for free, not behind the paywall. Down in the link is down in the description. Go ahead and join that. Really appreciate you guys because we're gonna go ahead and get into it right about now. And always, I want to give a big thank you to my channel membership supporters. I ain't forgot about y'all. Y'all know I ain't forgot about y'all. So big thank you to you guys for supporting this channel and all that I do and all that I come up with here. So let's go ahead and get into it. We know, because this is a discussion video, so we know that everybody, a lot of hero players, well, everybody and their mom are playing the Bestials, and they're just throwing it in any deck that they can because they're that splashable. Konami makes these things this splashable. I hear that there's no actual testing before they release these cards, so you know the new meta for Konami to do is to make these splashable cards and engines. You can even play them hero if you wanted, Bestials, technically speaking, so long as you're not locked in a hero. But yeah, so everybody's playing Bestial. You know, a lot of people, the Izuku, that's a problem. The tier limit Izuku, it is a problem. You know, I'm not gonna front that it's not a problem. It is a problem. And even Sprite is still very strong, very much strong, as well as a Totally Awesome. It's also very strong. It's very real still. I think it's the second. I think that deck is tier 1, where they're saying the new tier limit Izuku is tier 0. So that's what they're saying. And understand, guys, tier is, I'm not going to say tier is not absolute. I'm not going to say that there's no proof to what people think a certain deck is. I'm not going to say that there's no proof to that. But it's really just popularity, right? It's all about popularity. What's the most popular and whatnot. So we have to keep that in mind. These decks can be beaten. And what the point of this video is to give you guys some new ideas on what we should be doing with our hero deck and how the format has changed. And let's go into depth competitively into the hero meta as to some of the things we should be doing and some of the things we should be prioritizing and some strategies that we were previously using that should probably take a backseat, and some things that we can benefit off of and how we should play in this format, at least going forward. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into it. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is Destiny Hero Dark Angel. A lot of people ask, you know, should I cut it? Should I not? The tier limits, they don't really require spell cards per se. This card is good against Sprite. They're not, you know, it's good for a few reasons. The first thing is it's good against Sprite. That's the first thing I want to say, because they're not able to starter or use any of their spell cards. So especially if it's doing like a going second build, triple tactics and stuff like that, they're not able to do that. And this card kind of really hurts them when you have your Dark Angel, you know, paired up with the DPE on your side of the field. You give them a Dark Angel. They're not able to starter, and now since they're not able to extend, they can't extend. So I think this card is still really good against Sprite. The next thing I think this card is really good against is, everyone has access to Evenly Match. This shuts out Evenly Match alone. So that makes Evenly Match a dead card, as well as Dark Ruler No More. So, and I see a lot of people are not playing Droplet. People are playing Dark Ruler No More over Droplet, or Evenly even over Droplet. So, yeah, really strong there. And Rogue. So Rogue, I would consider Sword Soul Rogue now. This shuts down the entire Sword Soul deck. They're not going to be able to pot. They're not going to be able to Sword Soul Emergers. They're not going to be able to drop any of their Tinnies because there's a Dark Angel on their side of the field. So, and they have to make really weird plays, which puts them in a really bad spot. So Dark Angel is really good against certain Rogue decks. Mine, any kind of Mine build, Dark Angel, I don't care. Dark Angel kills any kind of Mine deck, any kind of Mine variant, burn, stall, whatever you want to call. So Angel is still good. We don't take that out, but we play that one. So, and it's an easy side out target. That's what we do. Obviously, we don't use this against Tier because they don't really use spell cards. It's good against a field spell, but it's good against a field spell, and it can also stop, because not every Tier limit deck is playing Super Poly, but if they are, it can shut that down. But other than that, they don't really need spell starters. Not really too much, so I would not go the Dark Angel route. So that's just my personal opinion there with that deck on how this can be used. So yeah, this is really good against Sprite in my opinion. So that's always a good route against Sprite. So we're gonna put that strategy to the side there, the Dark Angel, and what that should be used for in the format. The next thing I want to talk about is Bestials. So how do we deal with the Bestial engine is D-Force. D-Force, I believe, is how we deal with the Bestial engine. So the easy bait, like they're gonna, because we have a lot of darks with Hero. Okay, we have a lot of darks with Hero. Mainly, like they know that they're gonna be dealing with the heroes. They know they're gonna be dealing with the Destiny heroes in this matchup. So something that I want to point out is these guys, Malicious and Denier, they can be decent bait, but what happens is the Bestial is going to play into the D-Force. This is what I've been saying. So if they Bestial early or at the wrong time, or even if they do it at the right time, it's still very easily to establish 3 monsters on the board with the Vision Heroes, because the Vision Heroes, they are not graveyard. They're not heavily graveyard reliant as they are the Destiny heroes. So you're going to easily be able to bring out the Plasma. They're going to drop the Beef Shields, was going to be a 2,500 attack. Boom, thanks, you just played in the D-Force, and now your following turn, you might not be playing a Super Poly, or you have to draw it. The Plasma that's just super beefed up on D-Force, they're probably going to lose. And even though they get Graveyard Effect, say they're playing Tier Limits, even though they get Graveyard Effect, they don't get Field Effect, unfortunately for them. That's where the magic happens. And also the Izugus, they target things on the field often. So, and again, some of the things go to the graveyard, like some of the things that they'll mill, some of the things that they target to spin back, that's a graveyard, but you can't target anything on the field. So for example, let me just briefly bring these guys out. These guys are chilling on the board, all right? These guys are chilling on the board, and then boom, there's your normal summon, especially if you get Hero Limbs. So that's 3 monsters right there. So D-Force is a priority, and it is, once again, a very strong win condition. And don't look at these guys, Malicious, Denier, sometimes even DPE. These guys don't see them as like, okay, you need them, but see them as bait. Because here's what happens now. Here's what happens. If they don't draw the Bestials, now we really full combo. If they draw the Bestial, it goes one way or the other. If they draw the Bestial and hit on Malicious and or Denier, now we have Plasma bait. You see what happens? So these guys, see these guys as Plasma bait. And if they don't have the Plasma, now it's just full combo for us to do whatever we want. So you have to see it that way. That's the way to see it. And I think that would keep us on the path to winning. Like I said, they can do whatever they want in the graveyard. They can mill what they want because they activate the hand. That's fine. But the Izugus can't target anybody. So they're not spinning Jack, you know what? They're not spinning anything. And the tiers are not going to be. And also, I know a lot of tiers don't play Bestial either. Some do, some don't. So keep that in mind. So whatever, if you're going against any kind of deck that plays the Bestial, that's what you're supposed to do against a Bestial. I'm playing this card at 3. I'm not playing any hand traps because I'm playing this card at 3. That because this deck is at full power. So what I mean by full power is what supports the D-Force is Fusion Destiny. And boom, Fusion Destiny is an instant D-Force, as well as a Hero Lives. So these two cards are going to guarantee a D-Force play if you draw one of these 3 together, or one of these 2 together. If you draw a D-Force and Fusion Destiny, D-Force, and Hero Lives, they are paired together. And now, whether they have the Bestial or not, they have something to be worried about. So, see these guys as bait, all right? Bait fodder, and D-Force is your true play. So, and these guys are going to back you up because they're not very reliant on the graveyard at all. It's field effect. So, that is a silver lining there. And they could easily play in a Plasma and lose very quickly and easily from there. So, they can get punished for hitting us with Bestial. So I want to make that clear about Bestial. So moving on to the next strategy, the obvious strategy is what everyone is talking about is the tier 0. So that's what this thumbnail is about. So I want to say certainly your priority, especially if you already, for example, so we have 3 mass changes, 3 Hero Lives. So the way I see it and the way I have it laid out this way is, excuse the airplane. The reason why I have it laid out this way, this deck is full power, okay? That's the one thing we have going for us is the full power consistency. It doesn't matter how broken the other deck is, we're gonna always have consistency. And that's the power in that. That's the power in that. They can't control what they mill, or they can't control how they draw. But how our deck is built is just incredibly consistent. We have 3 Fusion Destiny, 3 Hero Lives. And there are a lot of combos that we can do to get into Shadow Mist. Let's say if we don't draw either of these, there's a very, very, very easy, solid Liquid Soldier play that we can special summon the Shadow Mist from the normal summon Liquid Soldier, special summon Shadow Mist, add the mass change. Especially if you're not playing the Bestial variant. Especially if you know they're not playing the Bestial variant, because the Bestials are not very good mills. So that's the reason why I want to say that not every Telemit Izuku deck plays the Bestial build, nor do they always have the room for it. So if they're not doing that and you don't draw the mass change or Hero Lives, your priority is Dark Law. That is your priority in this matchup. Okay, so let's say you get Hero Lives and no mass change, the line is now immediately Shadow Mist. It's as simple as that. If you get Hero Lives and mass change, well, your hand is broken because now you don't have to go that route. You just easily go for the Stratos and keep your mass change and just hold it for your extra dark. So yeah, that's the immediate priority. And they're not going to come out of the Dark Law. They can't play properly under Dark Law. And I have a picture of that to display. I summoned 2 Dark Laws against the Telemit Izuku player. There wasn't anything they could do. There wasn't absolutely anything they could do. And another thing I also want to note with Miracle Fusion, for example, let's say we're able to full combo and we draw the mass change. So, and I also want to bring this home with the D-Force and the Plasma play. So I want to talk about these things. So, D-Force, Miracle Fusion, and Mass Change line, what they all have in common is that there is no Nibiru in this format because you have the new Telemit Fusion that stops the Nibiru, and you have the Gigantic that stops Nibiru. So that's a very, very tight window for Nibiru to ever be able to activate, if ever. So Telemit is going to always be played around currently in this format. I don't care what anybody says. So there's going to be less. There's going to be less Nibiru. Nibiru was replaced with something like a Lava Golem now, or something else, or cherries or something like that. I'm seeing people play cherries over the Nibiru. Nibiru just isn't good, and even if you do resolve Nibiru, you are not safe even if you do somehow resolve the Nibiru. So what I mean by that, since there's no Nibiru, the cycle happens that it affects us in a positive way, that we can go ham with D-Force if we want to. We can just kind of turn our brains off and go ham with D-Force because there's no Nibiru to punish us, so we don't have to play as conservative. Another thing I want to note with Miracle Fusion is that because the same exact thing, there's no Miracle Fusion. There's no Nibiru. We can Miracle Fusion the same turn and sit under an Ab Zero. And the Ab Zero mass change leads into the Mass Hero Acid play with the mass change. So with the Absolute Zero. So that's another thing to keep in mind. We can kind of go dumb, stupid dumb. We can just go full dumb, okay, with that. And so that's just something to keep in mind. But yeah, so we don't have to hold our Miracle Fusion for the following turn because, Absolute Zero is just a threatening presence. And that is one way to play around, Super Poly and whatnot. It's just more of a threat. And so there's that. My build, I'm going to have a deck profile coming up soon because I went undefeated, I went undefeated in a side event. But we're not done here. So again, guys, our priority is to Hero Lives into our Shadow Mist, which will get us our mass change. And then from there, we just do our combos from there. Well, sometimes we could, if we have to, we could just skip our draw 2 with normal summoning the Liquid Soldier to get Shadow Mist and just skip our draw 2. We don't need it. As long as we can still fuse and get our Miracle Fusion, that's fine. But we don't always need a blind draw 2. So keep that in mind because what we're digging for ultimately is the mass change anyway. So in that matchup, especially that matchup, at all times mass changes are 100% priority. It's just really as simple as that. So it is die roll reliant, but we're gonna be able to go first at some point in the game. So whether we lose or win a die roll, we're gonna be able to go first at some point in the game. So there's that. The next thing I want to talk about, since we're not doing hand traps, we are doing one hand trap, but one thing to talk about is Droplet, Impermanence, and the different dimension ground. So I like Droplet currently. Now I want to talk about Droplet really quickly. I like Droplet more than Super Poly at the moment because we consistently get Miracle Fusion from our deck to our hand, right? Just about every game. If we don't, we're either hard draw, we either brick it, or we search it with the Sunrise. So I like Droplet over Super Poly because Forbidden Droplet, Absolute Zero is a forbidden Droplet target. I love that. I've been doing that. I've been bringing out Absolute Zero turn 1 and set my Forbidden Droplet, and now I'm going to negate something and wipe their front row. So that's really good. I really like that, this format. Also, another thing about I choose Forbidden Droplet over Super Poly because this is the only deck, for example, a few reasons. Just a few reasons. So this is the only deck that we can send off the cards that we use as cost and still get maximum value from we're still really plussing. And if we use Super Poly to bring on a non-hero monster, well, now we're locked out of using the Cross Crusader for the turn. We're locked out of using Cross Crusader. And it depends on what they have on the field. I don't like relying on what they have on the field. Sometimes they'll end with just one monster, like the new Tear Limits Fusion that negates card effects or negates summon effects. And even if you Super Poly her away, she's gonna come back and still have her negate effect. And the Chillimit Reinhardt, he can't be Super Poly. So if they bring those two on the board, and they end with those two on the board, you can't use them. And if they have the floor on the board, well, you have to get rid of the floor and something else, but it's not even a match. So Droplet is much better in that case, right? So we can Hero Lives or whatever, and they could go into negate, and then Droplet, get rid of the Hero Lives for cost, and we get maximum value, and now we playing, baby. Now they absolutely have to have like the trap in the back row or something like that. But I like Droplet better because we could get value off of our, engine, off of our spell cards and stuff like that, for example. So I really like Droplet. and you know it solves. It's a very strong problem solver. Also really good against Elf. Still, it might not be crazy against the totally awesome, but it's still a good card no matter what. So even first or second doesn't matter. I think Droplet is absolutely a hero card in this format. So I'm using this over Super Poly, and for those reasons that you just saw, because like things like this, and I can, like I said, turn one bring out the Absolute Zero, have a Forbidden Droplet set. I've done it on someone in tournament. It was disgusting. So that's why I played Droplet. I'll keep these here. And then onto impermanence. We want to stop either the kit or the gigantic, the Sprite gigantic. So I don't main deck impermanence because I'm main decking Droplet because I want to flow. But I do side deck 3 of these personally. Don't worry, deck profile for this deck list for this format is coming up, and I'll be only using hero this format. I thought I was going to use Ninja, but no, I'm using we're back to regular hero content posting. So we have infinite impermanence, so that's what we want to stop. I stopped the Kit Kalos last night in tournament, and he had it in his turn. So there you go. It was the Ijigu build, and he had it in his turn. So impermanence is very powerful if you can get it. I would recommend do not play Ash because it just doesn't flow. Even if, you can even start your turn with this card if you're going second, and you can hit a problem monster, a negate monster, boom, start your combo off, start your turn off with Imperm as well. Very powerful card this format. You have to play it. If nothing else, side it. I'm currently siding it because I think Imperm and Droplet, they can clash, so I don't put them together. And I think I think Droplet is a tidbit more powerful, in my opinion, for this deck. But for extra measure, I side deck Impermanence, so that we don't clog or we don't have to go over 40. So and then different dimension ground. That is our dimension shifter. Again, like I told you guys, I'm going to show you guys the interaction really briefly. This is to back up our Dark Law. So, they have ways to get around Dark Law. They can Super Poly him or Imperm him or Dark Ruler him. And we have that set. You're still not playing that turn, buddy. And also the Phoenix Enforcer, you go Chainlink 1, Dimension Ground, Chainlink 2, Phoenix Enforcer, saves himself for the turn to the graveyard, destroy himself, something else that they control, and now they are just locked out of the graveyard. Or sometimes you can do it backwards. You can go DPE as Chainlink 1 and then Dimension Ground Chainlink 2 and then destroy whatever they have in this card on resolution. And now they're going to have a hard time getting over the DPE. DPE is at risk of being destroyed, but they're going to have a hard time getting over the DPE because they don't have a graveyard. So, yeah, and the DPE is going to lower a lot of their attack power. So, yeah, there's that. So this card is just disgusting against against both Sprite and Chillimate, because Sprite needs a graveyard for their beavers and their swap frogs and stuff like that. So in standby phase, just hit them with that. Just don't let them go to main phase, because a lot of times they will use swap frogs effect for cost and send a monster graveyard for cost. You don't want that. You do it immediately. Standby phase as soon as you can, or they activate start in the draw phase. They activate start in the draw phase to avoid the, I forgot the name of that guy, to avoid the Joel Lockbird. So just immediately just chain it to their starter, and then now they have to alter their play, and they're not going to be happy about it, and they have to do a play that they don't want to make. And another thing I want to say also, we're going to go back to D-Force and Plasma really briefly. The reason why this card is super duper duper important too, because now that fusions have taken over, now that fusion is just really gross, whether it be tier limit, branded, or hero. Now that fusion is just really powerful. We have different dimension barrier. We have different dimension barrier to lock us out, to lock the opponent out of fusion. D-Force is another way to play around dimension barrier. So very important. They lock you out with dimension barrier. Yeah, you might not be able to Fusion Destiny that turn or whatever, but you're able to use your Vision Heroes. Like I said, we could play around so much. It's not even funny, this D-Force. So boom, and that is our win condition with the D-Force. So against the barrier. So that's another thing I want to note, because barrier is really, really good this format now because of tiers. So Yeah, so that's what I have for today, guys. Stay tuned for my deck list, my deck profile. I really appreciate you guys. You guys are great. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do not lose hope, because always remember, a hero lives forever. Love you guys. Catch you on the flip side.